Good evening, Facebook. I am so excited that you're here. We are here for class tonight for essential oils for the heart, healthy hearts. And I'm very excited to be here. So here we are. My children are coming home. I can see them in the ring. All right, let's get started, shall we? So we're talking about the heart. And of course, we always have to start at the beginning. So what does the cardiovascular system consist of? 3 independent systems that work together. They are the heart, the lungs, and the vessels. So your arteries, your veins, your coronary arteries, your portal vessels. Okay? Let's talk about the lungs for a little bit. And I brought a picture. We can get back to 4th grade science here. We're going to talk a little bit about it. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the lungs. So when we deal with the lungs, right, here we are. Here are the lungs. Here is the left side of the heart is red, and the blue side of the heart is the right side. Okay? So what ends up happening is that the body, here's your body. I know this is weird to have some separated things, but here's the body, and the blood from the blue side is coming towards the heart. So let's say that the blood that's coming away from your feet, going back to the heart, which would be carried in the veins, would be going back into the heart and then circulated through the lungs. So that way the carbon dioxide leaves the lungs, and the blood picks up the oxygen to be delivered out to the rest of the tissues via arteries. Okay? Hope this is all making sense, but it's very important when we start talking about congestive heart failure, about what is happening in our lungs. Okay? Questions? Good? All right. Clear as mud?
Good.
Good. All right. So let's just say it again. So the right side of your heart receives the blood from the body and pumps it to the lungs, and the left side of your heart does the exact opposite. So in order for us to take a breath, we actually have to have more carbon dioxide in our bloodstream. That's what actually makes us breathe. It's not it's actually getting rid of carbon dioxide. So we have a carbon dioxide buildup, and then we take a breath. And then we exhale the carbon dioxide. We inhale all the pollutants and everything else that's in the air, along with beautiful oxygen. And then the oxygen is circulated throughout our body. I know, you know how I am. I have to start in the beginning. I love this stuff. I know, okay. I love the science. So the cardiovascular system delivers blood, nutrients, oxygen, carbon dioxide, and hormones to and from the cells of our body. So today we're going to talk about 7 conditions. There are many, but I chose 7. So high blood pressure, heart attack, angina, arrhythmias, congestive heart failure, cholesterol, because everybody envelopes that together, and emotions, because I thought emotions are always part of that too. So let's start with hypertension, also known as high blood pressure. So, well, what causes these? Smoking, stress, overweight, inactivity, too much salt, alcohol consumption, adrenal and thyroid conditions. So let me tell you a little story. I think it's been about a year ago, maybe 2 years ago. My father is, I am a parent. My parents were large people when I was growing up. So I never knew them to be, they did not work out much, and they didn't take very good care of themselves. They took great care of us kids, but they were not the exuberance of healthy. So my dad was a truck driver, and he had his Class A license, and he would go to it for his physical, and his blood pressure at that time was 234/120. Oh man. Yeah. Kind of big. kind of a lot. So the doctor said to him, your choices are go home and get your wife and go to the emergency room, or I'm calling you an ambulance. And so he weighed about 245 pounds at the time. My dad is 5'8". He's the short man of the family. So, he exercised from time to time, but nothing normal. And then he had a poor diet. He ate what he wanted, when he wanted, and drank what he wanted and when he wanted. So he got really scared. He didn't go to the doctor unless it was for his Class A license. So he today he is 200 pounds, and my mom and dad walk 3 miles a day. They just do walking, and they built up to that. It's not like all of a sudden they just went out for 3 miles. No. But he did not believe in oils at the time, and I was doing doTERRA. He was very anti-oil. Didn't like diffusing, didn't like taking vitamins, nothing. So my mom says, hey, let's try. I have these tools. Shall we do them? Would you like to use them? Well, it scared him because he should have died. I mean, he should have stroked out and died. So he is currently at his blood pressure done naturally at 107/76. So what he does now is he logs his salt content. Everything he puts in his mouth and drinks, he logs in an app. And I use the same app. It's called Lose It. And he will log whatever he's eating and drinking, everything that he does. And all he wanted to do is watch his salt intake. So every bit of this pieces will make sense the more and more as we move on with other things too. But so what oils did he use? So his protocol is lifelong vitality. Because remember we talked about his nutrition wasn't great. He does use phytoestrogen. It's amazing. Phytoestrogen is amazing, and the more and more that I'm using it, and the more and more that I'm getting more and more comfortable with it, and my children are on it, my husband is on it, I am on it, and the men are only on it for about a week, a month. Unlike us, where we really need it all because our body obviously makes estrogen in copious amounts, where men's bodies do not. They make it in little amounts. So phytoestrogen, I know you guys know, is basically taking the fake estrogen out and able to really let the body utilize the real estrogen and not all the fake estrogen that we intake with our drinking from plastic bottles or breathing air. We're breathing, it's in our pollution. So my dad's on phytoestrogen. He takes Terrazyme. Pay attention to the gut. Why take Terrazyme when you have a heart condition? We have a metabolic issue. She's totally fine. We have a metabolic issue. So what we are doing is we have to take the stress off of the body, the metabolic issue, take the stress off that so that way they can digest the food and actually get the nutrients into the body and absorbed. Okay? Pay attention to all the gut stuff because at the very end I'll go over a podcast that I listened to that was phenomenal. Probiotic, feeding the gut. My dad also takes a good probiotic every day. Slim and Sassy Soft Gel. Takes that every day. He takes that for balancing blood sugar. Remember, my dad had many, many years of not taking care of himself. And with that comes high insulin resistance in our body. As we age we don't eat well, our body becomes insulin resistant. Meaning we cannot utilize the sugars that we're intaking. So, and it basically goes to the brain. So Slim and Sassy will help with that. Okay? Turmeric. Turmeric, it's all for whole body inflammation. And then he uses, my mom noticed that he really needed to use some oils for emotional balance. Because he's a high anxiety individual. I'm sure you probably have seen mine a little bit from time to time. I am a human. But, he has horrible anxiety. He uses a roller ball twice a day, balance and serenity with blue tansy, equal amounts. Now, you know balance and serenity is a liquid Xanax. Well, he needed a little more. And the blue tansy just like topped it off. Now, blue tansy, small bottle, small amount. Remember when we used that it's only a 5 ml bottle? Which, by the way, did you see the price decrease? Oh, yay. It's cheaper. So 1 or 2 drops of the blue tansy is perfect. Remember, blue tansy is in the Roman chamomile family. So if you want, it brings the big guns for that. Okay? Questions about my dad's protocol, what he's using, anything, maybe some of the hypertension issues or anything? All right, let's talk heart attack. The heart attack occurs when the blood flow is narrowed and there's a buildup of either fat, cholesterol, or other substances. And during that narrowing, think of it kind of like your pipe. It's your pipes basically for your whole body. And think of that, as time goes on, your slow draining sink becomes clogged. But think of it of that plaque coming off in your own body, and it's throwing maybe a clot. And that clot interrupts blood flow and can damage the heart muscle. Okay. We'll talk oils a little bit in a bit about which oils would be good for, where we are. So let's talk about angina. So there are 3 different types of angina. There's the unstable angina, is when your heart is not getting enough oxygen, and that is the immediate risk for 911. By the way, if you're having any of these, please, it's 911. It's not call your wife and ask her what to do, which I'm going to tell you a story about that in just a minute. It's 911. It's not, hey, let's try this oil right now. No, it's 911. Please. So there's that type of angina, which is the unstable, and then you have the stable angina, which is usually triggered by stress or physical activity. And the heart is working harder than normal and does not subside after about 5 minutes. Now let me tell you a story. When my husband was working the street as a sergeant, he had some very difficult calls. And I got a phone call. Honey, hi. Is it a problem if I'm having some pain on the left side of my body? Is it going left side of the body? Yeah, it's coming from my chest and it's going all the way down my hand. And I'm like, okay, buddy, your choices are this. You can either call 911 or you drive yourself to the hospital, or actually I'm going to call, if you don't call 911, I'm calling 911 and an ambulance is coming to the station. And he was like, oh, no. I had to give him an ultimatum. So he went to the hospital. I met him there. And thankfully, it was a stable, not a big deal, angina. But he did say it was because of stress. And, yeah. So now I work on my husband's emotional problems. We diffuse a lot of citrus when he's home because that makes him very happy. That's when I figured out, when he told me On Guard is his oil of relaxation. So thankfully I'm killing 2 birds with 1 stone with 1 bottle of oil. And he diffuses that all day long. And he's much, much better. Much, much better. I mean, the job is the job. Yeah. But all we can do is make it as comfortable as we can. So let's talk arrhythmias. Arrhythmias are when electrical impulses that coordinate with heartbeats, and they are irregular. And they do happen occasionally for everybody. All right, let's talk congestive heart failure. CHF is another thing. This is when your heart doesn't pump the blood through and fluid builds up in the lungs. So we're going to go back to our little thing here. Remember, the left side of the body, or left side of the heart, is intaking that blood from the lungs. And when the heart is not beating appropriately, the blood backs up in the lungs, causing that drowning feeling or that drowning sensation. Okay? Make sense? Mm-hmm. All right, good. So, that's not good. That's what killed my grandmother. Personally, I think she died of a broken heart. But we'll talk about that later. My poor family.
Emotions.
Yeah, my poor family. All right, let's do cholesterol. So this is a highly controversial topic. Many people feel different things about this. The biggest thing that I feel that you should do is listen to your body. Seriously, just listen to your body of how you feel and do what you feel is right with your doctor. Please go to the doctor. So, cholesterol is actually needed for our body. In order for things to, pass through cell membranes, you have to have cholesterol. Cell membranes are made of cholesterol. Your brain is made of cholesterol. But when it gets too much, that is not really appropriate. But the funny thing is when you eat things like oatmeal or legumes actually seek out cholesterol and try to push it out. Your body will naturally push the cholesterol. It's a use or lose. Uses it and then loses it and gets rid of it. Our body will naturally do that. But when we eat things that do that anyway, our body makes more. Remember the melatonin concept. When you take a melatonin, your body stops making melatonin because it's recognizing that it has it already.
Makes sense.
So when we eat these things in copious amounts, because I have high cholesterol, when you have an inflammation issue. Because that's what cholesterol is. Inflammation. Whole body inflammation. So let me tell you my mother's story. You knew that this would come. My mom has high cholesterol. My grandmother had high cholesterol. I'm probably going to have high cholesterol. God, I hope not. But did you know that our genetics is only 10% of our issue? Our 90% is everything that's around us. So, my mom went on statins. The good woman that she was sitting at the doctor's office before our doTERRA life. And she went on statins and she had heart palpitations. She couldn't even remember what she ate 5 seconds ago. Her brain was so foggy, it was disgusting. Like this is the smartest, sharpest woman. I mean, I learned how to be this sharp. I can whip back at you. My mother was sharper than a tack. She went on these things and she was dumber than a rock. I mean, it was horrible. And then she went on and had heart palpitations. So her LDL was always like maybe 10 or 15 points higher. But her LDL or her HDL was always normal and her ratio was always normal. So she was like, well, why am I on these statins? And I feel like garbage. So she quit them cold turkey. And I was like, well, okay, what have you made? Have you made any changes? So we went to, now we have doTERRA in our life, okay? And I'm like, okay, if you're doing something, you've just went cold turkey. If you've done something, what are you doing to help yourself? You can't go to cold turkey. And she's like, well, and this is when Diane Shepherd said that she went on the cassia and the lemongrass with the double omega. And so that's the first thing she tried. And so double omegas, so that's 8 omegas a day, and with a shot glass of water with 2 drops of cassia and 2 drops of lemongrass. Now this was before my dad's health scare. So, you know, I mean, you know how it is. If your husband ain't on board, life ain't good. You do not eat what, you know, I mean, you kind of have to kind of flow with the flow. You know what I mean? It's just the way it is. At least it is the way it is in my house. So we, she had, I know I'm gonna bring the plane in, but stick with me, okay? So she had always had a lymph node underneath her armpit that would come enlarge and go away, enlarge and go away. And every time she cleansed, she realized that the lymph node would go back to normal. And then when her body went back to inflammation, the lymph node came back and it hurt like a son of a bitch. Sorry. So, but you know, I mean, it hurt horribly. You know, so she was realizing that when she cleaned her diet, the inflammation would go away, and she felt great. And then when she lived life, she didn't feel good, and her lymph node was just horrible. So that's when she went for to completely clean up her everything. Like, she literally gutted her house, gutted her diet, gutted everything. So what is she on now? She's on Lifelong Vitality. She's on Bone Nutrient, phytoestrogen, Terrazyme, and a probiotic. Remember that gut connection. That gut is amazing. Take care and love your gut. She is on oils. She's on DDR Prime and turmeric and yarrow palm. The DDR Prime is for cellular health, whole body inflammation, and so is the turmeric, and so is the yarrow palm. So what is her numbers now? So her LDL is now 186, which is a little bit normal, a little bit elevated, like maybe 8 points. I mean, it's not above. HDL is 70, which is normal, and then the ratio is 2.6. So her doctor's still going, we need to put you back on statins. And she says, hold the phone, Joe. I am not going on statins for one number. So I thought that was interesting. And she feels great. So when she fell last month, and a couple months ago, she was on no medication. None. Zero zilch. She takes no medication. Allergies are taken care of by doTERRA. Her cholesterol is all by doTERRA. And she was completely normal in 5 days. She looked like she got hit by a car. Well, her face did. So I still can't post that on social media. I can post a lot of stuff on there, but okay. Questions about cholesterol? I know I'm resonating with you. I can see your wheels are just going.
Rob's gonna be on a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Emotional. Emotions are a big part, right, of our heart condition. I mean, seriously, we do die of a broken heart. When I say my grandmother died of a broken heart, I fully 100% believe that. My grandmother was the most social butterfly I've never known in my man. Oh my gosh, she knew everybody and everybody's brother. Then my grandparents decided to move from Sunnyvale, which they lived forever and a day, to Lodi, to 5 acres with no neighbors. She died. Like 3 weeks later, she got sick. 7 months later, she was gone. Horrible. I mean, they say congestive heart failure, but really, congestive heart failure is just a weak heart. Okay, so let's do some stress blend, the stress oils. Aroma Touch, great oil for stress. Serenity, ylang ylang. Past tense. Basil, vetiver, red mandarin, balance, rose, and geranium. The broken heart oils are your rose and your geranium. Use and love those oils. Diffuse them. Put them on your... use them regularly. Life is amazing with oils. All right, any questions before I move on? I know I threw a bunch at you. All right, I'm going to talk a little bit about a podcast that I listened to a couple of times. It was a really... I love podcasts. So, do you know Dr. Hyman? Do you guys know who Dr. Hyman is? He's a regular MD, normal practicing physician, and about 2009, I think, he was noticing that every prescription that he was giving out, people were getting sicker and sicker, that he really was not making anybody feel any better. And he was like, there's something wrong here. So he dug and dug, and now he flipped the switch from, he's still an MD, but now he's a naturopath. So he has a podcast by the name of Doctor's Pharmacy, F-A-R-M, like farm, A-S-A-C-Y. Oh, Michelle Oliveira, she's on the line. Hi, girl. She says that he's awesome. I'm like, yes, he is. He is awesome. So I love, he brings in renowned people to talk on his podcast, and this podcast was with Dr. Stanley Hazen. He's a preventative cardiologist, and he is at the Cleveland Heart Lab. So he actually was doing a study. He was realizing that people were having, he was just studying the heart and how, wanting to know what was in people's blood when they were, or were there any way to know if somebody would either have a heart attack, stroke, or death, and are these precursors in the blood? And the answer is yes, but he didn't find what he thought he would find. He found it's called TMAO, which is, I know, here we go, $5 word, trimethylamine N oxide, and basically the gut bacteria metabolite this TMAO, and it's in our bloodstream, and he was finding that, and it was over a 3-year period of time. 3-year period, and the signals alerted that people were getting ready for a heart attack, stroke, or death had high levels of TMAO in their blood. So what he found was the gut microbiome, which we all know because I talk about it a lot, is that our food is foreign objects, and in order to absorb everything, it has to go through the microbiome in order for us to absorb anything, and most food is not absorbed. So what he also found was that we can all eat the same diet, but we would all have different results, because your metabolism is different, Jamie's is different, mine is different. The way we absorb nutrients is different. Everything is different because our gut microbiome is all different. So, gut bacteria changes as when we change things. So if we do any type of physical activity that's new to us, whether it's go for a walk or go wherever, that changes the gut microbiome. Anytime we introduce a new food or anything, it all changes the gut microbiome. So after the study was all done, and hold on, I'm about to ready to land the plane, and we'll talk more oils. Is that it's a 5-year study, and 130,000 people were in the ER. And 50% of the people had normal LDL, which is crazy. 17% had optimal LDL. And then another study was when people came in for any type of heart issues, Are they having, they did a glucose tolerance test. So, and 2/3 of the people had pre-diabetes or type 2 diabetes. So really, which one do we choose? Do we choose to take care of our gut microbiome, or do we choose to take care of the sugar? And he was like, you got to do both in order to really, really optimize health. Okay? I know that was a lot. I was like that, but I kept listening. I'm going, this is really good. I got to get this out. But the podcast, I can put it on here. That way you guys can see it if you want to listen. It's not that long. All right, tools. Let's get to tools. Here we go. Lifelong vitality. Remember that gut-heart axis. We have to take care of our gut. Terrazyme. Taking the Terrazyme is so important just to take the metabolic stress off of our body. Because your body is only going to do one thing at a time. Digest food and absorb it, or take care of your metabolic issue. It doesn't multitask. Probiotics. You know, and the stuff that I'm noticing about our probiotic, although our probiotics are great, I will not lie, when taken daily. In my opinion, I do not feel that there is enough probiotic in each capsule to be given on that 10-day period and 10-day period. So a lot of people will put 3 capsules a day in a 10-day period, and then every month do that. And I'm just too lazy. I just take it every day. I'm just too lazy. All right, let's talk peppermint. Why do we want to use peppermint? It increases circulation of our circulatory system. I think you can probably figure out which issues we were dealing with that you could use peppermint on, right? All right. Helichrysum improves circulation. It's anti-inflammatory, and it reduces blood viscosity. So you know those people that have really high iron counts and things like that? It's real thick blood. Ylang ylang is really good for your heart function. It is proven to decrease blood pressure just by smelling it right from the bottle. I don't know why I would do this, but I like this in small amounts. And it also decreases heart rate. Marjoram, super good as well for heart muscle. So reducing blood pressure by relaxing your blood vessels as well. You know, marjoram is like the sister's oregano. Cypress improves circulation and promotes lymphatic drainage. Our lymph system does not have a pump, so we have to help that out. Okay? Frankincense, when in doubt, frank it out. And cellular health. It's all about cellular health. Deep blue. Now here's the best thing is sometimes it can be painful. So deep blue will help with pain, especially when you are having an angina, and then when you're having physical pain and physical activity. Because you know as well as I do, and when you first start something and you're gonna be a little sore. Juniper berry, really good to slow down heart rate, lowers blood pressure, and increases blood flow. And I'm just going to name 3 more oils for stress. Lavender, spikenard, and neroli. Now let me talk a little bit about spikenard for just a little bit. To me, I like the smell of spikenard. But everybody in my house will ask me to move out if I use it, if I put it on or use it. Scientists are like, what? But chemically, you know, I mean, compound wise, it has the most sesquiterpenes. So when you add it to something, it will increase the delivery of the other oil. So for instance, if you use citrus bliss because you're stressed, and you add a drop of spikenard as well, that citrus bliss is just compounded beautifully. It will make you even better. A friend of mine used citrus bliss for her heart palpitations, and that worked very well. And then neroli, I mean, it's in a roller ball, so go for it. All right, just some resources: Dr. Eric Z, Dr. Hyman, Dr. Axe, the Mayo Clinic, and PubMed. Me and PubMed get along really well. So, all right, I'm just gonna say goodbye to Facebook, and then we can resume. You guys have a wonderful evening. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope to see you next week, the 13th of February, for the Healthy Tips for Couples webinar. If you are not there live for the webinar at 12:30, no big deal, but register for the event so that way you can get the replay. And then we'll be back here on 2 weeks for Bring the Passion Back. I will let you fill in the blank. Have a great day. Bye.